Hello everyone, my name is Magdalene Mensah, a third year social work student in KNU Wesleyan, and in our discussion today, we'll be discussing a very sensitive and delicate topic, child custody. Stay tuned and enjoy the conversation. I have here with me Queenie Emifara.
AC here.
Mental health.
Okay, so do you think courts naturally favors mothers when it comes to child custody, or fathers are given a fair shot these days? If a couple split up, do you think the child ultimately belongs to the father's family line, the mother's family line, or both the parents themselves? We have to first understand what child custody is. So, according to UNICEF, it explains child custody as not one who wins the child, but then the arrangements that are put in place for the child's safety, the child's rights, the child's protection, and the child's health.
The thing child custody is where the child lives and who makes the bigger decision in the child's life. Everything concerning the child.
Okay, perfect. So, let us look at the issues that are regarding child custody. We'll delve into the social issues, the legal issues, the ethical issues, and the cultural.
The first issue we are going to talk about is the legal issue. We know in our Ghana's Children's Act 560, it states categorically and emphatically that the right of the child has to be paramount in any situation. So here we have to know that it's not mainly about who is, has the money, who the child versus or the name.
And the matrilineal. So when we take regions like their accounts, let's consider their accounts in the northern region. Their accounts will choose, say the child should come to the matrilineal side. How the northern, let's say the child must go to the matrilineal side. So there is a clash here. So here there is an issue with where the child should go. Yes, where the child should go. So issues like that bring about problems.
The social issue, I think it's what society sees child custody.
For instance, a single parent with a family. Let's say for instance, the man is no longer with the woman. So now the woman is taking custody of the child. So in this instance, the woman tries everything possible to make sure that she puts everything for the child's upbringing and everything. But society will actually see this as not enough because they see that the man has to be the life of the child.
They put a stigma on the woman.
With this, it really neglects the best interest of the child, what the child really needs. They neglect that and focus on what they feel that the woman,
what they feel best for
the woman. You see. So that's what I think the social aspect is all about.
And so the ethical issues too, it comes with a very interesting question.
Yeah.
And then we discuss among ourselves. So the question is, should biological parents always have priority over caregivers?
I don't think that there should be a priority over caregivers in the sense that maybe the caregiver has been in the life of the child since infancy, and then you, the biological parent, have been busy doing something somewhere. The child, first of all, is attached to the caregiver, emotionally, mentally, everything. So you coming to the child's life at this point in time is not going to help the child mentally, and you think they shouldn't prioritize the biological parents over the caregiver.
So what if as a mother, I didn't have money, I now get money, I'm now what to do? Should still I have the priority?
Go through all of it. Lay down procedures, and the best interest of the child should be the main priority here. It's not about you having money and coming back to take care of the child. The best interest should be focused mainly on the child, where the child is safe, mentally and physically. That is what we are talking about. It's not about you coming back to claim the child because you are not having money or something. Yes, I think that should be considered. Yes. The law doesn't consider you in any situation. You being in a situation doesn't concern or like it's not considered.
Really?
It's not even necessary here. We are talking about the child interest, not yours. Where the child should stay or who the child should go to.
So many chicken the court can design some structure for you to like, have a
Lay down
the
arrangements.
child, maybe visit the child often, but not custody. The court can't give you custody.
Okay, that is nice. So let us move on to what other people are saying concerning child custody in our system.
A lot of people have different views and perspectives about it. But in child custody itself, we are considering the child's best interest. And when we talk about the best for the child, they have different meanings to different people. People see it in different the co-parenting view. When we talk about the co-parenting view, people see, let's say I and my colleague here are married and then due to some reasons and some issues, we are no more. So when we talk about the co-parenting style, maybe the child will be given to me to take care of, or to live with, be at my end. And we will have a laid down agreement or arrangement until when he would have access to the child. If I decide not to allow him to have access to the child, the court will rule on that. So when we say co-parenting, I should agree with whatever the court says, like concerning if he's going to have access to the child or not. Bear in mind, we are talking about the best interest of the child. So if him having access to the child is in the best interest of the child, my view is not needed. My view is not needed here. So whatever the court rules on him being a co-parent with me, like we are co-parenting with the child, even if it's not in my interest, I don't have any say in it because we are considering the best interest of the child here. So that is co-parenting, and then you don't have any say in it when the child will, when the court rules on that.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much, sister. So we are moving on to the challenges child custody. And then our sister really will take us through.
I'd like to challenge whatever you said. So there are so many challenges about child custody.
Yes.
Then one is that the court proceedings, they usually take a very long time.
It's true.
It can take even 18 months for just child custody case. So I think that's one of the major issues related to child custody. And the second one is the parents, they don't have any awareness of the child's rights. They do not take the child's rights into consideration. They think the child will not have a say in any dispute related to the child custody they are fighting for. So I think that's also a challenge because we look for the best interest of the child, not what you parents want.
So I have a question on that. So if let's say we consider a child to be below 8, in a case where there's a problem, we are focusing on the best interest of the child. But here lies the case, the child is a child. So how would you speak to the child and say this and this and this? Because we believe that if the child is able to take decisions, it is when the child is at 18. So in these cases where they are decided, how would you incorporate the child?
I think there is a specialized practitioner who deals with issues with them.
Okay.
He or she is in the best position to handle whatever the child feels best. Maybe when the child is brought before the court, he won't be able to express him or herself concerning such issues. But then when a specialized person knows a way to get such information from the child, so we use specialized practitioners to handle cases like that.
So this one that we are educating society and our people, a practitioner like this, you have to get money. So is there any way where some of us that we are not well to do, we get people to help us when it comes to custody?
There are people at the social representatives who are doing excellent job on that.
But the Department of Social Welfare lack resources.
Yes.
They lack
Yes.
resources to provide welfare services for these child that are victims in the child custody.
So we have NGOs that deal with children, like UNICEF. So if maybe through some NGOs and UNICEF help get resources for those
How are
children.
you sure that when these resources would not be distributed to the urban areas, neglecting the rural side?
But all things being equal, most cases are solved. Most social workers get at least some minor funding to support such issues. So all things being equal, I think they have a way or the other to address it.
Of course, a very interesting chance.
Yeah,
So discussions, yes. So right now that we've gotten the challenges, there has to be a solution. Yes. So let's move on to the solutions.
So I will take the solutions. With all these different viewpoints and the challenges that are, surrounding child custody, one thing that we can do as a reform, as a solution to custody cases, are that one, we have to strengthen the enforcement of the Ghana's Children's Act, Act 560, because we see, and it has been stated there that we have to look at the best interest of the child. So if you are looking at the best interest of the child, it shouldn't be the case that the man has a lot of money, so we should give custody to the man because he has access to a lot of money, so he can take care of the child. What if that is not the best interest? That will not be in the best interest of the child. So I feel for that part, we have to strengthen, and enforce the Children's Act to work on that part. So the next thing also, my colleague made mention of lack of funds or inadequate funds. It is very, very true because looking at this, when you go to this social welfare departments, some of the staff, mostly they understand and they lack funding to do their operations. For when you send a custody case to the courts, the courts rely on the social worker to provide assessment, provide social inquiry report on that household or that particular case. So if there are no funds and no available staff, how can they help in doing this? To help the courts in providing the accurate decision that they are supposed to. So I feel funding is also another thing that we have to look at. So the next thing also is that my colleague also made mention of the fact that some of the parents, they lack the understanding. They don't have the technical know-how about the rights of these children for their kids. So it is very important that we do a public awareness campaign where we educate the family on the rights of these children and we seeking the best interest of the child. And finally, I will add that after the child has been granted or a parent has been granted custody, what's next? Is it that we just leave everything like that? We have to do a follow-up, to check up on the child. How is the child doing? Is the child thriving well and with the person that has been given the custody? So the final point that I would add is that we have to do a post-custody, assessment of how things are going in regards to the welfare of the child, if it is improving and all that, to know that yes, we made the right decision giving the man to person A or person B. So these are the solutions of the reforms that I think can help fix the issue of child custody in our country.
You cut the child custody, you share baby a friend, or better, and then the thing I want to find out what you say. This and dear number and air car, again, I am you move and a chain that was said, yes, the smooth nice and I was after heading at your moon so 1 year woman, and then Yama gets me last time when you a company. You mean Yama, Yakasi, yet I'm a friend, engineer is you have a friend evermore. And to say, you can't now wasn't upon the top of I was see a man, you ran so a dissing in a way, and you say, be a jealousy case, it was a journalist come one never, and nothing was another woman, they will send up on the sharp of some, and if I see a cancer, or see a different age, here for now, of a fan part, a pepper of the farmer has Abraham, and it's custom, and then you work.
See, you must say, it's a you wish you could do. Bye bye.